Hi guys, welcome back to Lisa Lives. This week has been the week of the tag. There are a lot of horror tags floating around this weather, which is great because I love me a good horror tag. I love me a good tag of any description, to be fair. It's a really, really good way to get to know other people out there in the YouTube community, get the conversation going back and forth, meet new friends. I will have to say, since being on YouTube, I just started a few months ago at the beginning of this year, the horror community have just been awesome. So friendly, so accepting, just absolutely fantastic. And the reputation that we get as people for liking horror movies are for being kind of like freaks as such. But it just goes to show what type of people horror fans actually are. I have found them to be just the loveliest people since starting this. So I just wanted to say a big thank you to people I've got to know over the past few months, a few people I've got to know over the past couple of weeks. You've all been fantastic. It's been great. And it's been really eye-opening with regards to loads of horror movies that I haven't seen. I think I've seen quite a lot of the really old ones and the really modern ones, but there's like an era in there of like the 2000s, the noughties, the 90s, which the more obscure ones I haven't seen so much, but I've got a list of recommendations now, guys, of things to watch. So yeah, I'm really pleased about that. So without further ado, I've got my questions written down here. I am going to do the vampire tag. This is a tag by a lady called Lizzie from Carnage Candy. I added her quite recently to my list, found via, I think it was either the Horror Miser Monty or Random Horror. I can't remember which one, but you sort of get to know when you know people from the horror community. You sort of like all know the same people, so it's quite cool. So if anyone does this tag, if you could credit Lizzie from Carnage Candy, as it's her tag, I'll tell you who I'm gonna tag before I start, and then if the subject bores you, you don't have to watch to the end. I've tagged quite a few people lately, so I don't want to keep excuse me, I'm sure you're getting really tired of me coughing. I don't want to keep tagging the same people, so I'm actually, for this vampire tag, I'm going to tag Sarah from Pixie Dust, who I know is a big vampire fan of one in particular, and I'm going to tag Chris and Victoria from Two Vloggers More, just because. So obviously, if you don't want to do it, guys, don't feel obliged, but I thought I'd put it out there for you to try anyway. Number 1. What is your favourite vampire film and why? Right, this one was really easy for me. I'm so sorry. I've had a virus for like at least 2 weeks now and it just will not go away. So, I've seen quite a few vampire movies, but when I was watching just loads that I wouldn't necessarily normally watch, this one come up, and really it is the eeriest, creepiest, scariest vampire film I personally have seen, and that's the original 1922 Nosferatu. For me, that imagery, the original, the bald head, the pallor, the fang, or the two long front teeth rather than the sexy sort of vampire incisor thing. Creepy as hell, especially the rising from the coffin straight up, and there's that iconic scene of him going up the stairs holding onto the banister, the shadow on the wall. I just find that imagining of Dracula, it's not Dracula, it's Nosferatu, but it was basically, they plagiarised the book. Dracula, the novel, is it 1897? I've written it down, hang on. 1897, so they basically plagiarised this book and called it Nosferatu, but the representation of the vampire in that movie, for me, just is creepier and scarier than anything that followed. It was remade in 1979, I think, and that's a good movie also, but I prefer the 1922. It's a silent movie, but it's cracking. Okay, number 2. Are vampires better than werewolves? Right, well it's all down to personal choice, I suppose. I like both. I think if you forced me to choose, I would choose vampires purely because it's the romanticism about it. I suppose that sounds stupid. Vampires aren't particularly romantic. Well, werewolves are brutal, are fierce, are killing machines, are terrifying. Vampires have got this kind of allure. They tend to have to seduce the victim in sort of the old-fashioned vampire sort of sense. So I'm going to say if I had to pick between, I'm dying to cough again, if I had to pick between the two, I would say vampires. I'm going to learn in future to bring a drink with me when I do these videos. I do apologise. Number 3. Who's the most brutal vampires in a film? Right, I've written down 2 things for this, purely because what I would have answered has already been answered by someone else. The vampires in 30 Days a Night I thought were just fantastic, really scary. Not just the 2 teeth, but the full mouthful of fangs, and the fact they move fast, they hunt in packs. I'm sure everyone has seen the movie set in Alaska, where the 1 month of the year everything's dark, and when it is dark the vampires come out to hunt, and it's just terrifying. The way they move, the way they feed, the way they attack, it's brutal. And I also chose, because that one was already picked, the movie, the original Swedish Let the Right One In. It has been remade. There's an American version, which I think might be called Let Me In, Let Them In, Let Something In. I've seen both. The remake's not too bad actually. It could have been a lot worse, but the original Swedish one is the character called Eli, the little girl in there. Let me have a look. Yes. So she's like the cutesy, innocent looking, lovely little girl who is a nasty, cold-blooded killer. Yeah, so I picked her also. Number 4. Favourite vampire transformation. Right, now, I've watched the Horror Miser Monty G's answers to this question, and I agree, there's not really a transformation as such with most vampires, not in the traditional sense of the word like you get with werewolves, but what I've come up with for this one is one of my favourite vampire movies, From Dusk Till Dawn. Salma Hayek, the iconic scene of her coming out dancing with the snake around her neck. One of the most beautiful women ever put in this earth. That scene even made me wow, you know, and I'm a girl. Yeah, so she changes into from this alluring, beautiful perfection personified, and she like changes into this like monster type thing. And obviously anyone that's seen the movie will know the bar, the twister. I think it's the titty twister it's actually called. I've just got visions now of the guy outside and his little repertoire that he keeps shouting, which I'll not repeat. Yeah, so this bar is a haven for vampires, and it's such a fun, it's a Quentin Tarantino movie. I don't know why I'm telling you this, because anyone that's watching this will know exactly what it is. So yeah, Salma Hayek's transformation in From Dusk Till Dawn. Number 5. I should say there are only 8 questions. Number 5. What's the silliest or worst vampire film you have ever seen? I agree with the Horror Miser Monty G. I think most people are going to answer this the same way. Twilight. What the hell? No. I know it's targeted at a teenage audience. It's not really targeted at the sort of horror fan market out there, but oh my god. But so as I wasn't saying the same thing as the ones I've already watched, this is going to be a bit of an unpopular opinion. I do not like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I think it is rubbish. Granted, I haven't watched loads of it. I've only watched maybe a couple of episodes, but when she starts to fight and she's kicking and punching and it's just oh. I know a lot of people I know really enjoy it and really like it, and some people that I know just are crazy nuts about it. I can't bear it. No. I don't like Sarah Michelle Gellar. I don't think that helps matters. I'm sorry, I won't keep. I know some people love it. I won't rip the arse out of it anymore. I don't like Buffy. I don't like Twilight. Number 6. Best vampire comedy parody. This one was really easy for me. What Do We Do in the Shadows? Such a funny, awesome, original, unique film. 3 vampires from very different... vampires have got very different representations. You have the original Nosferatu, you have the romanticised, the type of one you get in Interview with a Vampire. You've got like the gothic one with the leather trousers, like the Bram Stoker type with a top hat sort of thing. There's 3 vampires, very, very different vampires, very different styles, and they inadvertently turn a young person. And they're all centuries old, and they have to learn about modern life, about just new things, and about how the world is changing, and it's just so funny. It is such a funny movie. It was recommended to me by a friend, Claire, and it's just, oh, I love it. I only saw it possibly about maybe 3 or so years ago, 4 maybe, and quite recently. I hadn't heard of it before, but oh, I love that movie. It's so funny. 7. What was your first vampire film? This was The Lost Boys. I would have been quite young at that age where I was developing crushes. The character of Michael, played by Jason Patric in this, I just thought was sex on legs. He was perfection. But looking back now, the character that Kiefer Sutherland plays of David the Vampire is just, it's brilliant. I love that film. I've always going to have a soft spot in my heart for that film. And the soundtrack is just incredible. It's one of my favourite soundtracks for a movie. Number 8. Who is your favourite vampire, real or fictional or both? Right, this is a bit of a weird answer. On watching slightly more odd films to do the reviews that I used to do for a particular site, I came across Udo Kier and I was instantly transfixed. He's just such an enigmatic looking man, just his eyes, I mean it wasn't just that he's like hot, this guy is just his entire persona, how he puts himself across. It is a 1974 movie called Blood for Dracula, and it is really funny. Basic story being, Udo Kier is a vampire that must feed on the blood of virgins in order to regain his strength, but as time's gone on and the world being how it is, he can't find any virgins, so he's getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And his manservant suggests that they go to Italy because there should be lots of Catholics there, so you might have the chance of finding more virgins to get rejuvenate yourself back again. And it's just really, really funny movie. I just, the way Udo Kier represents it, I just think is quite different from all the others. Quite an unpopular opinion, I'm not a big fan of the really famous Gary Oldman, Bram Stoker's Dracula with Keanu Reeves. I think Keanu Reeves irritated me so much in that movie, it ruined it for me. Maybe I need to watch it again. I've only watched it once. I watched it and didn't enjoy it and haven't watched it since. But yeah, I've deviated again, as I do. So that's it, all 8 questions, and as I said before, I am tagging Chris and Victoria from Two Vloggers More and Sarah from Pixie Dust, 2 of my favourite channels, not horror channels as such, but I know Sarah really likes their vampires and Chris and Victoria really love their movies, so I thought I'd give them a go at this. I want to say a big thank you to everyone I tagged recently in the Horror Digest tags. So many of you have done it. I've really enjoyed today watching all your answers. That's been really, really good, really great, so thank you for that. So that's me for the vampire tag. I'm now off to do a sci-fi horror tag, so yeah, hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think of any of the answers, if you would have answered differently, love to hear. And obviously also, if I haven't tagged you, I purely don't like to tag the same people all the time. I don't want to be a pain in the bum, you know. So that's all for now. Until the next one, it's over and out from Lisa Lives.